Hey guys, today I'm going to share how my first oil change went on my new truck here, the 2024 GMC Sierra 2500 HD. This is the gasser, the 6.6 liter gas engine, the L8T with the 10-speed Allison transmission. Now I'm also going to share the oil analysis results, so stay tuned till the end of the video. Now I did my first oil change right at about 1,500 miles on the truck, which may seem a little bit early, but a viewer graciously pointed out to me that if you're going to be doing any towing, the owner's manual actually recommends that you change the oil before you do your first tow. And so I knew I was going to be doing some towing shortly, and so I wanted to do everything by the book, and that's why I changed the oil right at about 1,500 miles. Now the oil change itself was incredibly easy. I'm a big DIY guy, especially when it comes to oil changes and basic stuff like that on cars. And I gotta say, this is one of the easiest cars period to perform an oil change on, because there's so much room. I mean, not just up top here in the engine bay, but down below. You know, the oil pan is right there in the middle. There's nothing in the way. There's no obstacles. And then the oil filter is right next to it, just hanging down vertically. There's nothing in the way, you know, no obstacles whatsoever to compete with. And so it was really refreshing to do an oil change on this truck. But I'll let you watch in as I fast forward through the actual oil change. Of course, I did capture a sample of the old oil toward roughly the middle of the drain there to send off to the lab. And then as far as the new filter and the oil, I decided to stick with the OEM filter for the oil, the AC Delco. It's the PF63, that's the model for mine at least. Again, this is my 2024 with the L8T engine. And then for the actual oil itself, you know, I kind of went back and forth. Of course, GM recommends the 5W30, but it has to be the Dexos 1 Gen 3 spec. And on most of my other vehicles, I've kind of preferred or stuck with the Pennzoil Ultra Platinum synthetic. But at the time of this first oil change, it didn't seem like their oil had the Dexos 1 Gen 3 spec. All I could find is the Gen 2 on the Pennzoil. And so I ended up narrowing the two final options down to Castrol Edge, the advanced synthetic, not the high mileage version, and then also the Mobil 1 full synthetic truck and SUV variant. And like I said, I went back and forth. You know, both have the Dexos 1 Gen 3 spec. They both seem like great oils, you know, great reviews. But when I was looking for specifically, you know, other owners with the L8T engine using the same oil, I really couldn't find any history with the Castrol Edge oil. And so ultimately I went with the Mobil 1 full synthetic truck and SUV option. But hey, do me a favor and let me know if you have this same L8T engine. What oil have you been using? You know, why did you choose it? So comment below. I think that'd be really helpful to myself and everyone else watching later. So anyway, the oil change, like I said, it was one of the easiest that I've done in a while, purely just due to all the open space, you know, both underneath and up top, just no obstacles or anything like that in the way. I didn't even have to jack up the truck because it's got so much clearance, being a 3/4 ton. I just used a basic oil filter wrench to remove the filter. It's a smaller one to begin with, so you don't need anything that large. And then the only thing that was a little different, I'd say, is because this truck has the gas engine, you know, and this same truck can house the larger Duramax with the turbo diesel, it does sit down a good bit here with the gas engine. And so I did need a longer funnel to pour that new oil in, unless you're just really good with your aim. But other than that, it's really straightforward. And then after I changed the oil, I sent off that sample to Blackstone Laboratories, which, by the way, they're not sponsoring this video or anything like that. I just heard of them previously. They seem to be one of the more popular oil testing facilities, and so that's why I sent it off to them. And actually, this is my first time ever doing an oil analysis period, but I wanted to have one early on with this truck to have a baseline in history, especially if I decide to do them, you know, more regularly in the future. But about a month later, after I sent off the oil sample, Blackstone Laboratories sent me this nice report here. They emailed it to me. And spoiler alert, there are no values, no parameters, out of the ordinary. Certainly didn't expect that with a new engine. Some of the metals are of course higher because it's a new engine, and some of that's, wearing off and getting into the oil initially, but there was certainly no surprises here. It's a really nice report though, the way it's formatted here. They've got a section up here with some comments where, I don't know if somebody typed this out as a personal note or if it's more AI or a selection kind of from a template, but basically just letting me know, hey, because your truck is new, and you can see there 1475 miles was the oil change interval there. Because it's new, there's going to be some metals, particularly iron, copper, and silicone in the factory oil there. But because they're doing so many samples and they ask for the type of engine you have, they're able to take all that and show you how does your engine compare to all the other engines of the same variant that they've tested. So I think that's where this is really interesting. So this first section here basically are all the different metals and materials that they found in the oil. And because this is my first sample, these two columns are going to be the same. Unit basically is the truck or the engine average. And so far, this is my first report, so the averages are going to be the same as what it's showing right here. But I mean, you can see all the different metals that they test for right here. And then if we go all the way over to this side, these are the universal averages. So basically all the engines, the same engines that they've tested and gotten samples from, they've recorded and put those averages here in this column. So again, because it's a new engine, some of my values are higher than the averages because, again, some of that's wearing off being a new engine there. But as it shows here in the comments, those values should go down over time, especially the iron, copper, and the silicone. But then down here, they also have properties listed. And this is kind of interesting too. They talk about the different viscosities, flash point, if there's any fuel or antifreeze or water found in the oil, and then what the values should be. So again, you can see that all my values are right where they should be. I mean, this is just a near perfect looking report. But it's kind of interesting now that I've got a baseline report. If I decide to do this again, I can compare, and the average will start getting updated over the life of the truck. And I think what is really interesting about doing this, especially once you get more miles on your truck, is you could potentially, based on one of these reports, maybe get kind of a heads up that there's something going on with your engine that's not quite right based on some of these different materials being found in your oil sample or some of these different properties being out of order, and it give you kind of a heads up to be proactive and know, hey, I need to take the engine in and get something looked at because something is out of line. So I do think these are really interesting. So anyways, those are the results for the first oil change on my truck. But I gotta say, I was just really pleased and delighted to see how incredibly easy and straightforward it is to change the oil on my truck here. I come from the Ram Cummins platform, the 6.7 liter turbo diesel, and I mean, that engine bay was just crammed with everything. And so doing an oil change wasn't quite as straightforward. I mean, the oil filter was kind of in the passenger wheel well, and it was really tricky getting out without making a mess. And then, you got your fuel filter, which was really, buried inside the engine compartment. And so coming from that platform, I got used to it and learned the different techniques and tricks to make it easier. But going from the Cummins now to this gas engine, this is just a night and day difference. And so I'm really thankful to the GM engineers and everyone involved there. They just made it really easy. Everything's just super easy to get to. And so really grateful for that. But anyways, guys, I hope you found this video helpful. And as always, thanks for watching.